Hello fairy finders and fairy seekers. Welcome to FaerieQuest. Today's video is nature up close and personal. And these are up close and personal experiences that I myself have had as I'm out photographing different locations in search of fairies. Since it takes a little while to go through the photographs looking for fairies, sometimes I have to have a fill-in, and this is one of those for you. As you can see on the screen, we have a beautiful, beautiful cobweb. Some spider worked really hard on this. It was very, very large, and it sits on a bridge right over the stream. Seems to be a great place for this spider to be able to catch plenty of food. So I wanted to share that with you. At the end of this video, on this same bridge, I recorded the stream babbling. So if you would like to hear that at the tail end, it's a short clip, but you might enjoy it. It's very relaxing. So let's get going with the other wildlife that I've been very fortunate to be able to capture on film. Enjoy. So our first photo here is of a very common bird, at least in our neck of the woods. These are Canadian geese. And normally, because they are so common, I wouldn't have added this photo to the mix here because there's more, I guess you could say, exotic animals coming up. But I thought it was really neat how they knew where to go right below the spillway, where perhaps the coldest water is, or where they could just bathe, because it's not very deep where the spillway is down below there, and they would just duck their head underwater and let the water just wash over them. So it was kind of a really cool picture to get. A little goose trivia here for you. A female is called a goose and a male is a gander. When geese are on land or in the water, they are called a gaggle. When geese are flying, they are called a skein. Just some tidbits that you maybe didn't know yet. Despite their commonality, these geese are actually pretty incredible. As you probably know, they fly in a V formation, and that is the most logical way to keep them from becoming overtired, and also very easy for them to communicate with their honks so that they can change up the ranks, so to speak. The stronger birds are usually at the front, but they tire also, so then they go to the back, and it all works its way up towards the very point of the V. Also, they are very good to their elderly. If there's an elder goose who cannot make the trip or needs to come down for a while, a younger goose will be sent with that goose so that they can always find their way home. These are also birds that, if possible, they mate for life. They're very monogamous. And the one really cute thing is, if you ever come across a goose gosling coming out of an egg, you might want to go on your way because they're very impressionable. And a little gosling coming out of an egg will actually imprint on you. In other words, you will be its mother. Cute, and geese make great pets. But the actual mother goose might not appreciate it. Here we have a female cardinal, and this is on my deck. This is not where I am actually photographing fairies. However, when this kind of opportunity comes your way, you take a picture. So I'm sharing that with you. Cardinal trivia. A group of cardinals can be called a college, conclave, deque, radiance, or a Vatican of cardinals. That's a lot of different names for a single bird, or I should say a group of cardinals. This is the same female cardinal that you just saw from the back, but we're seeing it more up close and personal, And she's a beauty. You can tell that she's already been through quite the motherhood trip already. They usually have about 2 clutches of chicks each summer. And she's already done one. We're into the second batch, or getting prepared for the second batch anyway. And she looks a little rough, as you can see, but gorgeous nevertheless. In the location where we moved from, we would only see cardinals occasionally. Moving here to the new location, they're everywhere. And then when I was looking up some little tidbits about them, I discovered that there's 7 different states who actually have the cardinal as their state bird. So apparently they're quite prolific. On the screen here was a real treat for me. This is a chipmunk. Let's get past the trivia here. A group of chipmunks is called a scurry, and a single chipmunk can gather up to 165 acorns in a day. That means they go from morning to night, I think, just never stopping. Anyway, sorry for the blur of the photograph. This was a phenomenal picture to be able to take. I'm pleased that I have it as good as I do. It is one of the fastest creatures that you would ever see, and to have it sit still long enough to even get this much of a picture was amazing. Now, I don't know a whole lot about chipmunks other than I know that they are a part of the squirrel family, rodents, I guess, and they help a lot in nature with planting trees, obviously, because they grab the nuts, they bury them like squirrels do, but they also have a place that they take a lot of theirs back to store. So unlike the squirrel that a lot of times won't remember where they've buried the nuts, the chipmunks have a backup plan. Anyway, when I lived in Pennsylvania as a kid, chipmunks were everywhere. It was not any big deal to see them. But when I moved to Iowa, that was one of the things that I noticed, is that I never saw chipmunks, ever. So every once in a great while, I'll run across one, and this one happened to be at Pine Lake State Park as we were walking up towards the cabins, and it was just sitting on that little branch. So I'm very thankful that it actually sat still long enough for me to kind of zoom in, which is what caused the blur, and get at least this photo. Years ago, vultures were the last thing that I would have ever considered making a video on. However, as time has gone on, I've learned a great deal about these amazing creatures, and I would like to share that with you with the photographs that I myself have taken. Pine Lake State Park seems to have a very large family of turkey vultures, and you can see that from the thumbnail picture that I put on, where they were actually all together circling. And there's probably more than one family, but they stay together. They are very much family birds, and they take care of one another. So let's cover vulture trivia here. A group of vultures is called a committee, venue, or volt. When feeding together on a carcass, a group is called a wake. When a group is flying together, they are called a kettle. And most important here is that vultures are related to the stork, not to any birds of prey. Now, I wish I had known this when I was a child, because I had my own experience at the age of 9 where I had to walk through vultures on each side of me on fence posts, about 20 of them on each side. And I walked to and from school, and they would be on the fence posts when I would leave in the morning and when I would come back after school, and I had to walk home. So I had to walk through these vultures, and of course my thought was, they're waiting for me to drop dead. I know they are. Otherwise, why would they be just sitting there staring at me? And I have to tell you, when you're 9 years old and you weigh about 60 pounds, and these birds are just very quiet. They really don't have much of a voice, so they're very quiet birds. They might make a raw sound or something like that, but they don't sing like other birds. They don't squawk like other birds. They have other kinds of guttural sounds and things like that. And you know, when you're 9 and you have to walk through these birds, it is a terrifying experience. These birds were there every day for at least 3 weeks. Believe me, back then it was the stuff of nightmares for me. If only I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have been afraid to walk through them. I would have been actually quite honored. So let me share a few of those details with you. From the standpoint of a spirit animal or a totem animal, a vulture is about many things, including death and rebirth and resourcefulness and renewal and patience and cleanliness. One of the main things also is protection. They are very, very protective of their family members and their young. I should have felt very honored to have them watching over me, because I walked a long way on a dirt road all alone every day to school and back again. Who knows, maybe they knew that I was trepidatious about doing that, but if I had known what I know now, I would have felt much safer, because they do not attack live things. And since we lived so far out in the boonies, so to speak, nobody's going to mess with a kid who is willing to walk through these birds twice a day, and nobody's going to want to do it with me. So I was safe. They kept me safe. And they weren't waiting for me, they were protecting me. Spirit sent them. I have no doubt on that, but I did not know that then. So the trademark of the turkey vulture is the red head, or just vultures in general. And this can make them look really quite creepy, quite eerie. And that's probably what was getting to me at the age of 9. But their red heads are good. Having no feathers there allows them to stay clean and not get any kind of a disease from the eating. Now keep in mind that it sounds disgusting, but these birds are a part of the ecosystem. They keep a lot of toxins out of the environment, because as things decay, they put toxins into the air, whatever happens to be within the body. These birds can absorb so much. They can eat anything and not get sick. It really is incredible. And they save us from a lot of disease that if things were left to decay on their own, then there would probably be a lot more toxins in the air. So they are very, very valuable to our health and our ecosystem. Now, if you take a look at the feet of a turkey vulture, you will see that their feet are more like chicken feet. They don't have the huge claws like a hawk or an eagle. And those kinds of birds are birds of prey, and they do use their talons to tear and rip at what they are eating. These birds, their feet are actually very weak. They can use them to perch, but they cannot use them for tearing and ripping. It's their beak that does that. So if the meat is not fairly fresh that they eat, then they have to wait for a bird of prey to come along and open up the carcass for them. So they are not birds that can come at you and claw you as a bird of prey. Thus, they are more related to a stork than a hawk or an eagle. If you are fortunate enough to observe these birds in the morning, you will perhaps see them sitting high up in a tree or somewhere where the sun hits them straight on, and they'll spread their wings wide as though they're giving homage to the sun. In a way, I guess they are, but they use this to dry off their feathers from overnight. But it is quite a sight, and unfortunately I did not get to capture that, but I will be out there on other days to see if that's one of the things that I can actually photograph. This is about as wide a wings as I have seen or gotten on film thus far. But I'm going to keep trying because they really are incredible birds, and I have the opportunity to do so. This turkey vulture was directly above our head when we were walking Sammy after I'd been taking pictures that you've already seen here, and I kind of stood below it and looked up and zoomed in the camera, and this is what I got. And I do believe this might be an elder vulture, just a gut instinct there, because all the others were flying and this one was just kind of sitting right there, and some of the other ones would fly over as though checking on him or her. So this was a really phenomenal picture to be able to take. So the remainder of this video are a couple of short clips showing you a few turkey vultures as they're taking off from the spot they were at when I went to take their photograph. And then, as I said, there is a small clip or short clip of the babbling brook where the cobweb was, and it's such a peaceful sound. So I do hope you enjoy that, and I hope you enjoyed this up close and personal connection with nature. Until the next video, take care.